What the heck is a quad lock?
Watch this to find out. Whether you're in the car, on the bike, on the water, in the air, your phone is an important tool. Keep it secure with Quad Lock.
A driver turns left and right.
Real racing.
But we're seeing how hard it is to do an oval right. So I don't want to disrespect what they're doing because Shane is a great driver, but then the ovals, there's clearly an art to it and a skill. I think they jump in GT cars and things and be more competitive than their own car in a road course.
I think Brock still, like I did at Perth. And the reason why I say that is when you watch he's just, and wheels are made.
You called him a silkworm,
He's
Elliot.
a silkworm. On the wheel, he's very smooth.
Oscar, you look at him and you go, that's world championship material. He's so far ahead on the mentally, I think, than Lando at the moment. Obviously, we're biased Aussies.
Yeah.
But you can't argue, I don't think, at the moment, because you see qualifying and in the race and driving straight in the back of him.
Yeah, it was a complete misjudgment.
Oh no! He's in defence! The boat's in defence! They're all in defence! Oh, unbelievable!
Sound check.
Sound check. What episode's this now, mate?
Cheers, but we're at 58.
Holy
Cheers.
shit.
I know. Everywhere I've looked, they say 100 is the one you got to cross. If you make it to 100, your likelihood of surviving goes up significantly.
Still a long way away.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been times where like our friendship's probably been stretched. So 58, we've done well. We're nearly there.
It's been stretched? I think it's been actually smooth sailing. I thought it could
have. On my end, it has. With you, I think it has been. But maybe.
Oh, you get frustrated. Maybe that's fine. I'll just switch off.
No, I'm just kidding. It has been fun so far. I think we've done well to get to 58, and the support we've had has been unreal. And we are live streaming tonight with our Patreon members as well. So that's always good fun. So they're sending us in some questions. If you wonder who we cut to during, if you're new to the show, you might wonder who we talk to. And some of the names we call out are members that are in here live streaming with us and chatting while we do it, keeping us on our toes and making sure if we get something wrong, they're there to correct it.
They do make us look very good at times.
They do, but tonight's a big one, actually. We've got, it's not necessarily going to be a real long one, but we want to recap a lot of the motorsports. F1 had their break. They returned for the Canadian Grand Prix. Are you going to jump in there?
No.
No? Okay. And then,
I can if you like, but no.
And then INDYCAR was back at St. Louis for a big 260-lap race. It was epic, and plenty happened there. And then NASCAR, SVG, got the dub. We gave him a shout out. I saw our notes previously for the last episode. We're calling out, giving him credit for 18th, I think it was, and he's just got the W, which we were kind of expecting and hoping when we go back to a road course, see him get a win and make the playoffs.
Well, it kind of wasn't. I mean, you can never expect it, I guess, but Jesus, after today's efforts, we're going to start expecting it because he absolutely pantsed him.
Yeah, and it looks like whenever they turn up to a track that no one's been to, the advantage from him to the rest is even bigger.
Or if there's like a sprinkle of water, he's just lights out.
Yeah, they do. They are fans of rear lock, those guys. But what we'll start with as well. So INDYCAR, NASCAR, F1 and Le Mans. But we're going to start with yourself, mate. You are off to Darwin for the Supercars racing in your Trans Am.
I am. We're back. Bigger and better than ever.
Last round was Bathurst. You got out of there unscathed, which was you were kind of on your own nearly. There was a lot of shunts, a lot of shit got tore up, but you've done an engine rebuild in the meantime too.
Yeah. So we finished Bathurst fourth for the round. We got lucky a little bit. We didn't have a lot of pace, but we kind of just managed to stay out of trouble, I guess, which was good. So yeah, we sort of. I've got a curse for the first round. So in Tassie, the first round we were nowhere.
Curse.
Like I always have a shit first round of every championship. Like something goes wrong, and it's just a shit weekend.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So I think this year was my best round after round one. I left there 21st in the championship.
Brilliant.
And then now we're 7th after Bathurst. So we're starting to chip back. So if I can just keep chipping away, not that I'm really thinking about championships, I want to go and try and win races and have fun. But that Bathurst was a good recovery. And then hopefully we had some engine dramas. We were down on horsepower and then we pulled it apart and it was about to hand grenade itself. So we've rebuilt a motor. So thanks to Cam Sendell for turning that round in such a quick time because that was tight. So we've done that.
Who was that? Who built your engine?
So the category do, but Cameron Sendell from HCC, he's the category engine builder. So luckily they were able to turn something around for us and rebuild me a new motor. Otherwise I would have had to go and buy one off the shelf and it's obviously more expensive and stuff like that. So
yeah, okay.
Thanks Cam for that, mate. And so I'm looking forward to having a new motor and hopefully it's on song. And then we've gone the Indigenous livery. So,
looks good. I saw you released that today.
Yeah, so actually BJR helped us with that.
I'll insert the livery on this video so you can see it. Anyone watching for the viewers.
Yeah. So that's cool. BJR actually helped us with that because it's a little bit of a process to get it approved from the NT government. You just can't put on any design. Like it has to be done by an Indigenous artist and all that sort of stuff. So,
So is this an Indigenous artist that does stuff for BJR as well?
So BJR will use that. It's called the STARS Foundation, which is a group of Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander young women that are artists that did the design. And I believe they'll be doing the design for the BJR cars too. I haven't seen them yet. I don't think they've been released yet. But so it was cool. So the car looked great. It was good to do that. Point of difference. It's not very common for a support category, but I feel like we're on the big stage. We're at decent events. You need to put your best foot forward. And it was great that Jans and Alpha Theta and all of our partners wanted to do something different to try and stand out and support that initiative that Supercars are doing. So with the Indigenous round. So
well, you are one of the guys in a support category with legitimate brands that are professional behind you as well. So I think it's good for them to be represented on the track the way they, I imagine, want to be represented in business. So I think it looks good. The Indigenous livery, I've always wondered about that, whether there's something better that we could be doing for the communities. Because we do the livery, and one of the best things I think I've seen a team do was when Betty Clemenco donated money direct to one of the communities. And I know in the AFL, when they do the jersey, you can actually go and auction those off, and you could do it for charity, and that's I think a good thing to do. You kind of you achieve both, then you get to raise some funds and go to a good cause, and also bring awareness by doing the livery on their jersey. But for us, when we do a livery, it just gets peeled off at the end of the weekend, and it stops there. I think as a category, Supercars particularly, I think it's great you've done it. You don't ever see support categories do it because obviously there's investment that goes with it, so it's good your partners support that. But one thing I want to raise is like maybe there's more we could do, whether even if it's not a livery, because that costs money to do the livery, but suits, something like that. We could get suits done, auction them off at the end, and try and do more. Helmets, Flynn Johnson's thrown in there is great, but the only thing with the helmet, they are very expensive. Like my helmet now for the carbon helmet is, I think it's $7,000 for the helmet plus paint. So it's that is more than doing a livery on a car. I think that's a big cost. I would rather give, the $7,000 direct to a community rather than do a helmet for a one-off weekend or something. But because it depends. If every driver did it, they're not going to auction for that much, you wouldn't think. And you need to raise at least, I don't know, 10,000 probably to cover the costs anyway.
Yeah.
So, trying to get 20 bidders to pay $10,000 is unlikely, I would say. But if you do suits, the cost of that's quite low, could be covered by sponsors, and then you auction those off. You still get the awareness at the front of the grid for Anthem and things like that and Welcome Country. But anyway, I think it's good. I've always wondered, is it actually doing a lot for the right people? I don't know. And it's not I'm not asking the question. I think it's good for the category maybe to have a think about, because we've been doing it the same for a long time.
I don't know, but from my point of view, we just wanted to help.
What's your format? How many races do you get to do?
We've got 3 races. So we've got Friday's really busy for us. We've got 2 prac and a qual. And then we've got 1 race and that's it on Saturday. So Saturday's a bit of a cruisy one for us. And then we've got the 2 races on Sunday. So
how long are your races? They're quite long still, aren't they?
They'll be because it'll be time certain for us, obviously, with the telecast and supercars being support. But they'll be probably 25, 30 minutes normally.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
it'd be probably what is it, a lap round Darwin? I can't even remember. It's 1 minute 10, 11 or something.
I think it's 1 minute 10 for a supercar, something like that.
So we'd be 3 seconds probably behind that. So, yeah, she'll be a 15-lap race probably. 15 to 20 laps, I'd say.
Hopefully. No. I mean, it's usually a track that's all right for safety cars. There's plenty of runoff, so hopefully you don't get cautions and lose race time. Because when you are under the risk of time certainty, that's the last thing you want.
Yeah. It's support category Lando, so they're not all pros, so we do tend to get the odd safety car, and people go pretty hard, so we'll see.
And bushfires. That's the big thing out there is, I know that when our cars or supercars stop on the infield, they often can light a grass fire. They're known to do that. And
our cars are just as low as a supercar, and the exhaust hang just as low as too, so we'll be similar risks to supercars for that sort of stuff. So yeah, but no, I can't wait. I love Darwin. As I said, last time I was up there was V8 Utes, 2015. I think it was the last time I actually raced there. 2015, 14. I love the place. It's great, and even just one of those ones, good atmosphere.
Yeah,
everyone from the Victoria and stuff. We want to get out of the cold, so you're just happy to be there.
Good time of year to escape, I can tell you.
It's very cold here. Shorts on, so can't wait to get up there. It'll be heaps of fun, and hopefully we have a good weekend.
One thing I've just thought of then, what do you do about setup leading into an event where you guys haven't been before?
Yeah, because we haven't raced at Darwin. It's a good question. And we have I guess like a lot of race categories or supercars, we've got different, we got drop gears in the back. So it's like Formula Ford, your ratio is obviously super important, and you've got to, like, we've got heaps of different sets.
So you can choose the ratio?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's open. So, yeah, guessing things like the ratio and that sort of stuff, there's been a bit of back and forth with ideas on what ratio we're going to roll out with and stuff. So it can be tricky. I think our cars, once you get them in a certain window for, you know, your basic stuff, like your springs and things like that, you kind of stay similar.
Yep.
You won't. So from that point of view, it's not too bad, I don't think, unless we drive it out the gate and the thing's a shitbox and we'll throw the kitchen sink at it. But I don't think it will be. I think it'll be pretty strong straight out the gate. So it's really just, did we nail the ratio? And that's hard to know because if you haven't been there, you don't know how fast, you don't know what the top speed's going to be. So it's hard to actually.
And how many practices? One practice, did you say? Two. Okay, so you can change, I guess, after the first practice if you.
10 minutes to change your ratio. So
yeah,
that'll be the first thing I'll do. I'll download the data, make sure that the revs and our ratio is right. And if that is, then we'll work on the balance. If it's not, then I'll get the boys to chuck another ratio and try again. But yeah, no, it is a bit of a guessing game for us. So I think we'll be okay though. There's enough sort of. They're close enough in ways to a supercar with like speeds and stuff that you can kind of have a half-educated guess.
Yeah.
So like we use the same. I study onboard vision of a supercar because the markers are the exact same.
Right.
Because we're a little bit slower, but we're a little bit lighter, and
yeah. Okay.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Which teams have multiple cars? Just GRM.
GRM, TFH have like 6.
Oh, they
or
do
7.
too.
They got heaps now this year.
So they will have potentially quite a big advantage going to a place that's new to run setups in different cars and be able to fast track that process, won't they? That's where the one car teams in supercars have always been a challenge.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's why I'm excited about this weekend because by the time this goes out, it's going to be announced anyway, I'm sure. But Marcus Ambrose is running Aaron Love in a Camaro. And I've kind of been the only one charging in a Camaro. So it's hard to know, are they different? What's going on? So Lovey's jumped in one of them, which is great. And we're essentially teammates, if you like. So like satellite teammates. So we'll work together. So hopefully that'll help push me along.
Brilliant.
He's fast, I think. He'll be fast and charging hard. And he's obviously an ex-supercar guy. And so I think that'll be good for me. And so, yeah, on that, I think now that we've got another car that I can work with, hopefully that speeds up our process in learning what we need for each weekend.
Nice.
And then Blanchard's in too.
I saw that. His car looks good.
Looks really good.
Cool drive livery.
Yeah, the cool drive, I reckon it always looks good.
It does look clean.
So Timmy's in, which is awesome. And I'll also, we'll be sharing intel together as well, Tim and I. So, yeah, I've got 2 really good pros I can bounce ideas off. So that'll be good. So that's the first time in a long time I've had, I guess, a teammate or someone to work with.
Yeah.
So
that'll make a big difference.
I've just always looked at my own data. I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing, but
yeah,
it feels pretty good to me, but I don't know, shit. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that'll be, I think it'll make me lift to another level, and it'll just be good to know, am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong?
We want to give a quick shout out to our partners that make this possible. Start with East Coast Car Rentals. If you're in the market for a rental car, AHU 15 for 15% off already fantastically priced hire cars. Trico wiper blades. Barbs, if you're in the market for wiper blades, what are you going to buy?
Tricos.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to rent a car, you want to buy one, Lancaster Motor Group.
That's right. And if you go in and you mention Apex Hunters, you get a free wheel alignment. When's that till, Scotty?
End of June, I believe it is, this year. So if you get in and mention Apex Hunters, you don't mention our name specifically because
I won't know who you're talking about. But if you are one to hit the gutters, or your missus likes to hit the gutters in your car, mine's guilty of that too. Take it in, they'll give you a free wheel alignment, job done.
All the links to these websites will be in the description of this video. Quadlock, the link there if you're after any phone mounts, adapters, or a cover. You need a case for your phone. Action cam mounts as well. We smashed those that we used them flat out at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. Any of the vision
They're
that was
awesome
captured there was
so quick to just change them.
Well, that was the thing that I didn't realise. Yeah, you don't need to undo your GoPro mount anymore. They've got their own connector, so that's very fast. But if you can, support the partners that keep us alive. If you'd love to watch our podcast live, like some of our Patreon members, go over there and sub. Back to the show. All right, mate, NASCAR.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on that? We got SVG. First thing I wrote down, SVG remembered.
He did.
So that was good to see him get a result back. And so what was your thoughts on the race though?
I liked it. I was watching it. I got to watch it live, which was good because it started at 6. So I was just watching it while I was cruising along at the gym and at
Long
work and
races,
stuff.
aren't they?
Oh, I was like, yeah, that last 15, 20 laps, I was like, this better finish before 9 because I've got to dive into a meeting. I'm watching on my phone going, hurry up.
And you don't know with NASCAR, if there's going to be a late caution, it can all flip on its head straight away. And they look for any excuse to throw a caution.
I was like, because Shane was just so far out in front, I'm like, I bet you the officials are just looking for anything to like caution this bad boy. I'm like, this will drag on for another hour, is what I thought.
Yeah.
But no, I really liked the race. I thought it was good. I mean, obviously, again, hard not to be biased. Our mate smoked him. So it could have been the world's boringest race from everyone else's point of view, but I was like, this is great. So I liked it. Mexico looked cool. I mean, I know F1 and stuff have been there, but it looked pretty cool through that
stadium.
That stadium section. Like, I thought it looked like a fun track, especially in those cars watching quali. The slow-mos of the cars sliding around.
Yep.
Shane texted us saying, geez, it's slippery in practice and stuff. So,
and he didn't feel that competitive. Like he said, I don't know, I think we're okay, but we're nothing special. And then he said the track is fucking low grip.
Yeah, he sort of
then pole and dominate.
Sort of thought they were going to be sort of 5th to 8th or something. I think is what he sort of thought the pace was at. And then, I mean, in the race, he just absolutely spanked them. And, people go, it was wet and stuff, but it was dry for like 80, 90 laps or whatever. So, like,
I saw he said as well, he was running like low 33s and he thought he could have ran a low 32 if he really pushed, which is nuts to think he was at points a second a lap faster for the majority of that last like 20, 30 laps. And he still could have gone another second faster. Like, I think
to me, it looked like that.
And it does look like they are a long way away on road course. It's hard because like Circuit of Americas, I was surprised they did really well. Like they were actually like Seabell especially, and he again on the podium today, Chase Elliott. But I think the advantage when the track's slick, and especially at the start when it's wet, it's just amplified. And I think that they're still blown away with the whole heel and toe. Like we talked about it before we came on the pod tonight, and it's just surprising because straight out of go-kartings, everyone in this country in New Zealand's heel and toe is just like learning that. It's a half a day to learn it. Because it was your point. I said, I guess for them, they've always left foot braked and it's a big transition. And you said, well, hang on, how long did it take you to learn left foot braking, learn heel and toe when you got out of karts? It's like, yeah, okay, it's probably a half a day or something until you're on top of it. So they probably need to start to look at it because I made a note about Kyle Busch. The shunt he had down into one where he locked the rears in the wet. It's like, it's pretty embarrassing that the amount of every time they go on board and it happened with Hocevar as well, they go on board and all you hear is the rear chatter. They're just locked in the rears and they're just blipping with the throttle and they're on the brake. So you can't even, once you get rear lock, the only way to release it is the clutch. And we all know out here in New Zealand, any sort of touring car you're racing, you use the clutch a lot for tyre life and also managing rear lock, particularly when the track's wet or slippery. And I think that just on the weekend, like his tyre life as well, it's all because of little things like that. It's fucking blown out of proportion at that track in particular.
Yeah, he just was in the league. And I agree with you, I think, on all that. But I also do agree. To me, it looked like, he'll never say it, but I reckon he was cruising. Like,
I agree.
Like, I think if someone was on his rear bar, he would have found that extra second.
Yeah.
Like, I reckon he had more up his sleeve.
Yeah. But like every time they try and push a brake zone, they've got late front lock, early rear lock. It's the same every time. And I know he said in the post race that it's worse in the Xfinity car because you get the axle hop and you don't get that in the Cup Series.
Right.
But when you watch their onboard, they are getting the amount of rear chatter. Like
all the backlash in the diff and everything.
Denny Hamlin into that stadium. I know you love him. I'm not going to upset you about...
He wasn't racing. He was at home. Someone was in his car.
Oh. Well, that car, when they cut on board. Who was in the 11?
Ryan, what's his name?
I can say whatever I like now. You're not going to throw your drink at me.
Ryan... I'm having a mental blank, but it wasn't him. He's at home. He just had his kid, so he was at home and missed around.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's good, I guess. But that when they cut to his car, it was horrible.
Ryan Truex. Thanks,
Ryan Truex. There you go. So it was crazy. Yeah, it does surprise me that they're not trying to learn it because you made a good point. It didn't take anyone that long to learn it out of karting into Formula Ford and those types of cars.
And they use they've got the mad Chev Sims and Ford Performance Sims and all that. Like, to your point, if I'm going somewhere and it's either a new circuit or a new car, within a session or two, you would have start to feel semi-comfortable with whatever it was you're changing. So, like, I remember when I did the GT stuff, I left foot braked.
Yeah.
Jumped in, and then you go back into a normal car, or what we call a normal car. You're up. Like, as you say, within a session or two or a couple of brake applications, you work it out. I just think, to me, it's like it's almost now like it's an attitude thing. They're like, well, I don't want to learn. Like, this is how we do it. What we do is right. But clearly it's not, because Shane just keeps pantsing you.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember going back to Chicago and watching, I think it was Bubba Wallace lock the rears and actually backed into someone, hit him with the boot. And I'm like, you don't see that out here in any category. Trans Am, Formula Ford, Super 2, you never ever see someone rear lock. And then the problem is too, they then stall because the clutch isn't in. Take forever to get going.
I know exactly what they're experiencing, because when the Trans Am cars or the TO2s came to Australia, they don't have like a proper pedal box in them where you can adjust pedals to suit what you want to do. So you physically couldn't right foot brake in them and heel and toe and stuff. Like the throttle was so far away, impossible. So everyone just left foot braked. And it was a nightmare because every time you go into a braking zone, you're like, I'd love to go 5 or 10 metres deeper, and I can, but I can't because it just gets this axle hop. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
My left foot's on the brake. And then as soon as the category changed that and fixed it, like straight away, time, comfortable, no mistakes during races because you've got the clutch at your disposal. So much better. So
even when you pull out to pass someone, you'll always change brake bias to not get front lock and things like that. And the clutch is doing the same. It's still a tool to...
It's a balancing tool, yeah.
And I think it's almost like, I guess they are giving the credit where it's due with his footwork, but it doesn't seem like many are really looking at...
I'm just surprised someone like Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, I'm surprised any of them, they're all professional drivers, can't just go, okay, we're at a road course, so change my pedal box in the car, I'm going to right foot brake this weekend. I don't know why they're not, like, it's not that hard they could learn it. Like, they know what they're doing. They're wheelmen. They're all wheelmen. Like, go do half a day. They've all got either ex-supercars, TA2 cars, sport. Like, they've got cars that they use. They've got plenty of money and resources to go and practice this stuff. Like, wouldn't you just go, okay, road course, I'm back to my right foot today. Next week I'll go back to left foot on the dome.
Yeah,
like
and even when you drive a road car at a test day or something, like I went to Canberra last week with Bush, and it was funny with Brody Kosecki. It was pretty funny. I posted a video, actually. He was in Crocs. He had him in sports mode, the little thing on the back of his heels so he could heel and toe.
Have to, yeah.
But you're driving a road car and you can't get around heel and toe. Like, surely they've done track days in road cars. Would they be left foot braking in those? Like, how do you downshift in a road car without heel and toe?
I actually think they're probably only ever in race cars. Like, I don't know if, like here, and I think that's why Australia and New Zealand produces such good race car drivers, because you just drive anything, and we don't have the luxury of, we don't have the luxury of testing because it's very expensive. And that's so every time Aussie or a Kiwi's in a car, it's like, this lap has to be it because I don't know when my next lap's going to be.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to wobble around like the guys in Europe do.
But they should be doing track days in road cars, though.
Yeah, but
that's how, like, Shane has had driver coaching by Rob Wilson in the UK in a road car on an airfield. We've all had it. Like, I used to see Rob. Like,
Cam Waters gone over and done it, like a few have, but I just don't know. Maybe they don't, because otherwise you'd have to if you want to drive the thing fast and not blow the diff and gearbox out of it every corner. Like, you'd have to.
Yeah. If I was sitting over in the US in a NASCAR and seeing what Shane's doing, you'd jump on the phone to a Rob Wilson or someone like that you could go over to the UK. Tim Sugden, great driver coach in the UK, does a lot of the F1 guys as well, and go, hey, I want to spend a day with you. It's not hard to find out where these guys go to get the driver coaching. You go to an airfield in a road car. They're only like...
Well, it's even like James Small, who's the engineer for
Truex,
Briscoe this year.
Yeah, that's right. He was Truex, wasn't he?
Yeah. James is an amazing race car driver. Like he would be able to go and teach his, like the Joe Gibbs racing guys.
Yeah.
James would be able to go to a test day with him and go, guys, this is how you heel and toe, because James was very good at driving himself. So he would still know how to do all that shit today. Like, so I don't know. That's why I think it's just an attitude thing. There's enough good guys in the States that are road course experts and would be right foot braking that they could utilise. Like, tell me Penske couldn't ring up Scott McLaughlin and be like, dude, can you come out and teach these guys how to heel it? He's in the Penske organisation. They obviously don't want to.
Yeah, they're, like you said, they're kind of just like, no, I don't need to, because
this is the way we do it.
Because 90% of our events are on ovals. It's not a big priority.
Yeah.
But I think it makes them look bad. Like, and it may not just be the heel and toe. I don't mean to minimize it, but
the perfect example,
it made them look bad at Mexico, because a real race car driver, that's very controversial take, but a real race car driver turns left and right.
A real race car.
But we're seeing how hard it is to do an oval right. So I don't want to disrespect what they do, because Shane is a great driver, but then the ovals, there's clearly an art to it and a skill. But I mean, like, if you want to drive anything around the world, you're going to have to turn left and right and find out ways to. I think they jump in GT cars and things and be more competitive than their own car in a road course.
Yeah, and they generally are. Like they'll do like Daytona 24 and stuff like that because they can still left foot and all that stuff, auto blip, all that stuff. But
Prezzo, real race caterer. Yeah, I really pumped my brakes there because I don't want to. I also know that that's not right because they are clearly very good in the oval and it's not easy. So I don't want to insult them because it's not true.
Look, it's there. Look, left foot braking and speedway racing is their bread and butter. Out this side of the world, our bread and butter is right foot braking, heel and toe circuits. The configuration of the cars that we drive here need a lot of that. Theirs maybe not so.
But really, it's anywhere outside just NASCAR.
Yeah, but I think
even INDYCAR, like when it merged with Champ Car, it's kind of embraced. It does a fair bit of both. Yeah. Like it's not as much biased towards ovals as NASCAR.
What will highlight it to them, I think, is when Will, Brock, and Jack go over, and then they go, "Oh, there's actually 4 Aussies over here that are actually making us look." Maybe it is like maybe we do like it's if one guy goes and does it. Maybe it's not as bad for them, but when 4 or 5 fly over, and it was the same when Cam Waters was there. He like if he was in an RFK car this year, Cam would go and be extremely competitive.
Yeah,
in Cup.
We saw first practice session at Sonoma. Will was P3.
Yeah, and when a wave of them come over, like we're going to see soon, there'll be 3 or 4 on a weekend in the race across Xfinity and that. They'll maybe go, oh shit, maybe we should actually start. We look pretty stupid now. There's 4 of them beating us versus 1.
Hunters, I just want to take a moment to thank one of our fantastic supporters, Shaw & Partners Financial Services. Shaw & Partners are a leading national investment advice and wealth management firm. They act for and on behalf of individuals, institutions, corporates, charities, and family offices. So, if you're looking for advice or assistance with investments or strategies, look no further than Shaw & Partners Financial Services. With a 35-year history and 8 offices strategically placed all over Australia, their financial advisors are within reach and ready to provide tailored solutions and advice. For more information, follow the link in the description of this podcast. Back to the show. One guy that I think is really impressive in NASCAR at the moment is Seabell.
Yeah,
I really rate him.
I rate him. I know there's a lot of hype around Larson. I actually almost would rate Seabell higher. Yeah, I really like. I think
cool. That's going to upset a lot of people.
Hey, sue me.
I love Seabell because he just goes under the radar. Even in the Full Speed documentary, he's kind of the guy that people don't. They almost underestimate his skill. But then he can go on an oval. He can win a road course and then win an oval the following week, and I think that's really impressive. And I know that Larson can as well. But Seabell seems to be there all the time. He's not as he doesn't. I think just recently too, we've seen Larson obviously with the Indy 500 and then Coke 600 made 2 pretty uncharacteristic mistakes. But yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's doing a good job. And
well, he's like a Larson. He's very good in everything. He's good on the dirt.
Yeah.
Good in everything he does. I just think he's a genuine wheelman. And that can adapt really quickly. I think he's very, very good.
Good timing for Shane too, because there has been, whether true or not, but there's been a lot of talk starting to pop up. Every time I go on YouTube, there's a video about Shane potentially losing his drive or something because people love to
speculate.
It's like it makes everyone feel better about themselves if they bring someone that's doing well down. And I think the people in the know, that's never going to be a topic they're having right now, I don't think. But it silences the people that don't know what they're talking about. I think it was really good timing to get that. He's got, I think it's 4 of the final event of the remaining events, including Mexico, are road courses. So he's got a good shot. Yeah,
I also don't think he's far off on the. I think people just need to look at stuff holistically. And apart from Ross winning the 600, he won the Coke 600, didn't he?
Yep.
Apart from Chastain doing that, really Trackhouse have been not that competitive across all 3 cars on all the speedways all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're starting to find their groove now, but as soon as they've started to find their groove, Shane's popping up in the top 15 as well.
Yeah.
So, I think you need to look at it. It's easy for people to go, oh, he's no good on a speedway. Well, hang on. If the car's no good, like if his teammate Ross, who's won heaps of races before, is finishing just in front of him or just behind him, well, maybe it's the setup or the equipment. So I think people need to look at it properly before you start calling that stuff out. And I think he will have at least a couple of top 5s, I think, potentially, if they can continue on the trajectory they are at Trackhouse and they start getting their cars right, I think he'll prove the doubters wrong on speedways before the year's out.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't necessarily think he'll maybe win, but he will definitely be consistently in the show.
Yep.
And like a speedway, if you're running top 10 with 5 to go, it's anyone's because of the wrecks and the cautions and how it
100%.
works and the strategy.
I think if you can start to qualify inside the top 15, top 10, you're out of trouble then too. Like it's difficult. I think I saw, it was Denny Hamlin on his pod talking about once you're in the shit, it's really hard to get out of there. You need to be in the top 10, top 15 so that if there's a wreck, you're more often than not going to be in front of it.
And just while we're talking on Shane and the speedways, he's had a lot of praise from very experienced guys about the way he drafts and that in traffic.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't see the potential there as well.
Well, you look at the comparison with Hocevar at the moment, he's clearly very good, but he's upsetting a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think when you pull out of the train, you need to have some friends that are prepared to go with you. And I do think like I really rate Hocevar at the moment. I think he's aggressive and fast, but I think he's upsetting a lot of people.
Ricky give him a spray again.
He did. I saw that. I love that.
Beat your ass when I get back to America.
I'm going to beat your ass. You're a lap down. You got nothing to do. Why are you running right into me? Second time. I don't give a damn. I give a damn. I will beat your ass. I will get back in the state.
Hey, talking about beating each other's ass, I'm not sure I'm really that big a fan of that. But it is like you upset some people. I think you might run into trouble when you want support late in the race.
You're not going to push someone they don't trust.
100%. Yeah. That's the big thing. If they don't trust you.
Because they're like, well, I'm not going to go with this guy. This guy's going to wreck me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, being good in the draft and knowing that person, if you've got them on your rear bar, they're not going to wreck you is really important.
And it was even last year he was getting praise from like guys like Denny Hamlin and that about that when he'd only done a handful of races on Speedway. So, yeah, I just think those that are calling him no good on that, I think they'll be eating their words soon. But Mexico was awesome. Chase Elliott really, to me, was, apart from Christopher Bell, was the only one that seemed to really work it out, I thought, late in the race. But it was too late. Shane was already gone.
Yeah.
But at least you could see he was adapting and trying things and actually worked it out pretty quickly.
You could see him chasing the line as well, even when it was wet. A few of the guys that could see Shane were really trying to, you could see on the exit of the corner, a lot of them would cross to the infield and run up like off line so that where the oil's obviously seeping through the new surface is not as bad or the getting off the rubber. And I think it was cool to see some people starting to chase Shane across the track. They obviously saw what he was doing and tried to copy it.
It's like they're not that confident. Like obviously on the speedways, they run up against the wall and stuff, but it's like on the street tracks and the road courses, they're not confident to put the other side of the car that they're not used to having up on the wall. It's like they don't, because I noticed a lot in Mexico, Shane, typical street course like Adelaide and those, he's so used to running a Miro and knowing exactly where you are. He looked to be using everything, whereas you said it looked like some were good somewhere, but still half a car or half a metre or whatever off in other sections.
It must be a big transition, though, to go from running ovals and being up on like the high line, running the wall, to then turning left and right at a track where, like even on some of the exits, the left-hand wall out of some of those comes up pretty quick. And I think it would be, I don't know, unless just when you're racing in the pack, you get such a good peripheral awareness, I guess. But it would be, I couldn't imagine doing just ovals pretty much your whole life and then going to circuits like that, the transition. Because, I talk about the heel and toe. It's a lot more than just that. I'm surprised that more people aren't starting to try it, but I think it is as well. Like the left and right running up close to walls. And that's why I think Chicago was such a big step for all of them.
I guess that part of the world too, they never drive right-hand drive cars, where again, here we bounce from left to right.
Yeah.
So we know we're over there, like if they drive a GT car, it's still left.
Yeah. I'm becoming a big fan of it. I think the last and including the ovals, like remember the triple header with Monaco, Coke 600 and Indy 500, my favorite race of all three was the Coke 600. And I'm surprised because I've never been around the ovals. I haven't enjoyed it as much. I think they're long races and they typically don't fire up until the end. And I know there's been conversation like Dale Earnhardt has talked about, how do you fix that though? Because that's why I guess the stages come in and they keep throwing cautions. Yeah. It's to try and make or create some jeopardy throughout the race, which is why you get stage points and things. But now when you watch it, I do think NASCAR is really, really exciting. I think even the Indy, we can jump onto that in a minute. But I think that Formula One is, for whatever reason, has always been my favorite form of motorsport. I've always aspired to race there. I went to Europe in the pursuit of that. But now more and more I am enjoying watching the difference in styles. I feel like when you watch NASCAR, you really get a feel for who has what type of driving style. You can see Shane on the road courses, obviously. Like Denny Hamlin, you can't ever count that guy at any oval.
No.
And then come playoffs, I think it's always somehow the Penske cars seem to sort it at the end, but every weekend is a bit of an unknown. You have your favourites, but fuck, it's so competitive. Whereas I guess Formula One, like it's you kind of know after practice who's going to probably pole it, win it, and it does start to get a bit stale. So I guess I'm new to NASCAR and my enjoyment for it is definitely getting more and more. The only thing I'd say is I do prefer watching INDYCAR on Stan because when they go to an ad break, they kill the commentary, but we can still watch the action. That's definitely when we watch US sport, I've always struggled with that. Too many ad breaks, and it's quite hard to stay engaged with it when there's such long races.
I will say someone's put in our comments to Lynn Crosby. You're right. So Daniel Suarez did the Xfinity race too. He's a Mexican NASCAR driver. Totaled his car in practice, I think it was. Had to go to the backup car and come through for the win. So that was big for him.
Shit, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so he was in the backup car. So for Junior Motorsport, and they had Connor Zilic as well. So they had a couple of charges.
Right.
Connor was on pole, I think, by quite a bit from memory. But the Mexican Daniel Suarez come through for a home race win, which was cool, and especially
I saw the end of that race, and that was pretty cool to see, wasn't it?
And especially from having like the big shunt, going to the backup car, and then coming through with the goods, a little bit like Ross.
I was just about to say, how's that for Trackhouse? Like,
so obviously it was an Xfinity, not Cup, but still, even he said,
same kind of story, almost. Yeah, better though, wasn't it? Really do it your home event.
Yeah, and he said even though it's Xfinity and it's level 2, he's like that's still at a big thing for him. So that was thanks for mentioning that, Lynn, because I did think of that today. That was a really cool moment for him.
Aaron Murray has actually thrown in here as well. I said unrelated, but the recommendation on the Earnhardt doco was spot on. Exciting viewing. If you haven't, I would recommend. Have you seen that yet?
I need to get some time. I'm going to watch on the plane to Darwin.
Right. Good.
Download it.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, if you haven't, go watch that, guys and girls, because it is one hell of a good doco, and yeah, I think it shows a good insight into something you don't often get to see. Now NASCAR coming up. We've got, obviously they race every week, but next is Pocono, which is going to be a Prime event again. I think Prime's coverage is pretty epic as well. I'm just going to say, even the way they engage after the races is just...
Yeah, no, I really...
It seems like we're watching current, relevant, modern sport.
Yep.
Don't you reckon?
No, I mean, I thought everyone just pumping it up because it's a new sponsor, tipping in Bitcoin, but then I've seen it, and you said the analysts they've got are awesome.
Yeah. Super
engaging. I like Dale Jr. as a commentator or as an analyst.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think Dale Jr. I think I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's doing a great job.
So yeah, no, I really liked it, and from what I could see, it was awesome. And
Corey LaJoie as well does a good job. Actually, I think he does really good interviews after the race.
But again, they're current people that are still in the sport. Like Corey's still racing himself.
Yep.
Junior's still racing late model stuff, still running cars in teams, just ran a cup. Like he's got the Xfinity program, plus he does the odd cup thing. So they're still currently, relevant.
I think with someone like Dale as well, and this is what we lack here, is that contrast of voice where someone doesn't need broadcast. Like that guy is so successful in his own right. He doesn't need to be a commentator.
Doing it because he loves it.
He loves it. He loves talking about the sport. So when he has an opinion, he expresses it. It's like Nico Rosberg in F1. He's pretty much saying whatever he thinks, because if they say, oh, you've upset X and we don't want you back, he'll be like, okay, fuck, I don't need to come back. I'll go back to Monaco and
sit on my yacht,
film my vlogs. Like he does not care what he's, I think you need that. You need someone that doesn't care about being fired for saying the wrong thing. They do pass their opinion. They give praise when they need to, but
they're not desperate for it.
Yeah, they're not just trying to appease everybody. And then Echo Park Speedway, I don't actually know that track. Another 260 lapper, big race, Hampton, Georgia is the next one. That's on June 28.
Then we got
the street race. Go on, mate.
Yeah, no, so obviously that's where the boys will be in action.
Yeah.
Will be duking it out with SVG on the streets of Chicago. So that'll be interesting.
It will. I've heard, though, Brody was telling me last week, there's a big difference in engines and things, though. So it'll be interesting to see what type of engine they get in that car, because that is something. I think there's a big difference in what they want you driving. Like they're not going to want him to turn up and do that well. But Shane did do it in apparently like a big grade engine, so he could still be in contention.
Kaulig, because Will's doing it with Kaulig. Kaulig been going all right this year too.
Yep.
On speedways and the circuit stuff. So if they do give him half a weapon, it'll be good. I'm sure. Well, I'd like to think they will.
Yeah.
Because for them, Kaulig want to win a race. So. That's their best chance. Their best chance is probably with Will on a street track if they're going to get a win.
And if it rains, then I think we'll see two supercar guys really show him how it's done. And I seriously rate Will. Like, I've obviously got to see him up close, and he has surprised me. When I joined Triple A, I knew he was good, obviously, at Erebus. He was doing a great job against Brody, but Will is someone that I highly rate now, and I think that he will. Yeah, we saw what he did in Toyota Racing Series. Him and Brock rocked up and beat the F1 prospect. And I think he'll do the same again. Sonoma, he was so fast. And to go back to Chicago, street circuits are places we love. Like, every supercar driver loves a street circuit. So I think he's going to be good there. And then they go to Sonoma next. So Sonoma's straight after Chicago. So it'll be cool to see Shane finally do that, because last year he did it in the Xfinity, won that, and he was on the radio actually for Will last year at Sonoma. So it's going to be cool to see him do a double header on road
he was
courses.
spotting, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was spotting.
That's
so
right.
that'll be good for every Kiwi and Aussie listener. That's I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. And then we've got Dover and then Indy. So
That finishes July. And then obviously, August it carries on, but that I thought was a good little mention for what's coming up. There's plenty of good NASCAR racing.
should we tuck into INDYCAR at St. Louis?
Yeah, unreal. That race I loved, mate. That was fucking wild. And we'll get to it, but fuel is one thing I want to talk about. But Kyle Kirkwood, third race win for the season. The highlight, I think, was 71 passes for the race. I think 48 was the new record for the Canadian Grand Prix over the whole field.
Yeah.
And 71 passes in just one driver for the race win at INDYCAR. And, 3 wins now this season, really, between him and Alex Palau. They've dominated the year, which is pretty cool.
They're the only 2 winners, aren't they, for the season?
The only 2.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was great as well for Kyle, because that's his first oval win. And he actually said, he goes, I had to do this soon, because otherwise they're only going to start taking me to the road courses. I had to prove I could do it on the oval.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was good to see, and I did love to see Connor Daly. He led the race at some points. I've mentioned him a few times. He's a guy who's clearly a good driver, but works hard to be on the grid, and led the race. Was very aggressive and finished 6th after starting P15. So that was pretty cool.
And we brushed over it, but Will Power was on pole.
He was, yeah.
So he still got it.
Yeah, crazy. Like, and not in any disrespect. I think to have raced. You're racing against different generations, really, because he's come in at the back end of like the Franchides and those guys, and now to still be banging it on pole after 21 seasons. Like, I mean, it was a privilege for us to have him on the pod.
Yep.
But to see him rock up and put it on pole in a season where he's in, I'm sure right now, negotiating contracts and what happens next season is unreal. It shows that he can still get the job done. He was very fast as well, but Newgarden was P2. I think it was first, second, and fifth for the Penske cars.
Right.
But they actually had a nightmare.
They did have a nightmare.
Power had a front right tyre go down, stuck it in the fence. So that was gutting.
Newgarden, when Foster spun, Newgarden had nowhere to go and did a flip.
Holy shit.
That was pretty scary. Did you watch the onboard? Like, he just...
And his hand just sort of like, it was that big of an impact. It pushed his hand up against the dash and it was stuck there.
Just one of those, like, shunts too from the onboard where you just feel helpless. Like, oh, fuck, there's nothing you can do. Like, you're just absolute passenger.
I know, and it's funny because I guess instinctively he would have tried to pick a gap, but it would have happened that fast.
Gap.
And Louis Foster, who he hit, I think it's great to see that he wasn't hurt, because typically that's the guy who's vulnerable in those incidents. I mean, the best type of accident sounds wild, but the safest way is usually head first because you've got the crumple zone and the nose cone and everything, but side on can really... It's bad, even as a driver hitting side on as an oval. But to get T-boned, you're pretty vulnerable.
He's lucky, I think, where he hit him was sort of rear wheel, not side. Like, middle of side pod would have been very scary. He lucky it was just behind him.
Sound check.
Sound check.
Cheers, Bubs. And then you're still on the...
Still off the P15S. I'm just...
It's good. If you're wondering.
Battling a couple of niggles at the moment.
Well, you're marathon training now. Did you do 80K last week or something?
I did 80. Shannon Jordan did 100.
Yeah, my partner, she's done 102 last week, and she's doing 11K as we speak right now.
Yeah, well, someone had to come in and do this, so I missed out.
You're welcome, Bubs. Otherwise, you'd be doing 11K, so don't fucking complain.
No, I said that to him. I said, I'm actually wrapped. I got a pod with Scott tomorrow, guys. You guys enjoy that run.
And then one thing, 6 seconds it took him to bring the yellow out. I've always been really impressed with how quickly cautions come out in the oval, because obviously it happens fast. But this was an odd one that 6 seconds, the commentary team said it took for the yellow to come out, and they seem shocked as well. And at the same time, I want to say the safety crew holy shit, they did a good job. They were over to that car.
guy.
There was still cars in the race. I know the caution comes out quick after a big accident like that, but they were on the track to see if Joseph was okay within... I swear the car was still coming to a stop when that guy was at the windshield.
That guy that dove over and jumped straight down,
Yeah.
I was like, holy, yeah, because there were still cars coming. Like, good on him. Props to you, mate, whoever you are.
And even debris.
That would not happen in Australia.
No.
They would be waiting till everyone was like, and this is no disrespect to it, like we've just got different rules, obviously, and safety regulations.
Gold Coast, do you remember when the race was under caution, but Nick Percat jumped the fence, grabbed his own fire extinguisher, jumped back on, put the car out because they hadn't got the go-ahead. It wasn't under controlled circumstances to let a fire marshal on the track.
And I think actually SVG jumped out of the car when Scotty Mack rolled at Goldie too, didn't he, to check on him? Because obviously they were on the track and there was no officials there yet.
Yeah, yep.
He was remarkably fast, and that was someone that you can just see just loves their job. Like he had no worry about himself at the time.
His priority was
was purely the driver. Is the driver okay? So I mean that's awesome to see.
And but yeah, scary crash. Holy shit, it happened fast, and I don't think there was anything anyone could have done about that. But I mean, the lights probably took a bit too long. One thing that surprised me when I looked at that accident was how low the pit wall is. He was very close to clearing that wall.
And they said, and I think
had he done that, then you've got some real trouble. Like coming down the lane upside down like that,
well, there's a lot of stuff to hit people, all sorts of stuff. I think Hinch might have even said it on the broad. He goes, "That was like very lucky not to clear and go into the lane."
Yeah, so that was surprising. And then Scotty Mack later had a rear right failure. Very lucky it happened out of turn 3. Said it was probably the best spot on the track for it to happen because your loaded rear right could put you in the fence pretty hard. So he was lucky to get out of that without any big crash, but obviously it took him out of the race. So yeah, Penske all 3 out. And like you said, they've had a shocker lately. It might have been before we started recording, but the Penske in Le Mans as well got disqualified after qualifying for being underweight. Obviously the whole scandal or whatever you want to call it about the Indy 500 with the cars. It's just been a bad run for them. And then obviously with Scotty as well crashing on the warm-up lap for the Indy 500.
They've just had a shocker, which is got a feel for them.
So it's when you're in this kind of spiral, it's like they got to get a run on the board. And I did see as well, they had said there's about a lap, I think it's lap 115 into the race. They said Penske had only led 49 laps this season. And in that race, they had led 60. And I felt like this was going to be the race that maybe they turned a corner and got a run on the board, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Pato Award came home P2. Rasmussen was seriously impressive this weekend. P23, he qualified and he came through for 3rd and had serious speed. Some of the passing, like he was the same as Daly. High line, passed around the outside, late in stints when the debris is bad. I was really like, it's high risk. And when I don't know. I think when you tuned into the race and you see that the track gets cleaned up after a yellow, and then late in a stint when there hasn't been a caution in a while for a driver to take the outside, it is pretty impressive. But that was cool to see him come through, and it was one of those races that it really didn't matter where he qualified. Shitloads of passing. I don't know. I'm very biased with F1, but I'm sort of coming around on some of these, even the oval races. I think to have cars that are such high downforce. Will Power said the load through the front right is why it failed. But to be able to still overtake and race as close as they are is pretty cool. You're seeing them lift on the exit, lifting out of the throttle because they get the aero wash. But then they can still drive up the back of each other and pass. Yeah,
and you see they say cars with still so much downforce, but you still see the attitude on the cars. Like they're still...
And they're in there working like...
Yeah, they're not just stuck to the road. They're like on the edge of the aero platform and everything. Like there's nothing left in them.
Yeah.
So I think that's also why, as you say, like it's really exciting to watch because you just don't know when it's going to snap.
Yep. Actually, I wanted to mention Jack Harvey in pit lane in the IndyCars, doing a really good job as well. I raced Jack in British F3. Really good lad. But I wanted to say I thought he was actually doing a good job in the coverage as the pit lane expert. This is his first season doing that with the Fox broadcast, so that's cool. And he still raced the Indy 500, still races himself, but unfortunately can't get a ride at the moment.
Yep.
But I did want to say one negative with the IndyCar coverage. They got to work out, because they drop off the jacks and they're still doing fuel. They don't go till someone says go. So I guess the jack time they don't have a watch on, but I would love to see in the coverage them bring in a pit stop time, because Scotty Mack in one of his pit stops was struggling to get a gear and he had a slow takeoff, and the coverage, they missed it. The commentators didn't see it. And they said they kept going on about the undercut. And this is something we see in supercars where we would have been like, God, seriously. And it was the same in IndyCar. I'm like, fuck, guys, it's clearly not. It wasn't the undercut. He's dropped from 1st to 3rd.
Yeah.
because he couldn't get a gear. But I think the pit lane, they should have a stop time for the viewer. It's the only thing I think that coverage is missing.
Yeah, which they can do because like NASCAR do each segment of the lane. And so they would be able to do it with time loops and work it out and all that sort of stuff.
It's definitely like what F1. I mean, that coverage is obviously the pinnacle, but they have that. Like as soon as the car's driving out of the box, you've got 2.4 on the screen, and it's great to know.
I wonder if it's real sometimes too. Is there just someone just punching numbers? Look pretty good, 2.4. That look a bit shit, 3, 1. Like it's so fast that it's just.
It's someone in the lane, like the guy. Is it Crofty in the lane or Kravitz? But they'll be like, you always see. It was kind of like a Larko thing. You'd be like, oh, that looks smooth. That's probably about a 2.1.
Yeah.
Well, I would think they're under 2 seconds now. I think 1.9 is the fastest. But, they missed that in the coverage. I think that would have been good. And shout out to Scott Dixon. Holy shit, that guy. 410 races. I made a note of this because during the coverage they mentioned this. 410 races, 58 wins, 214 top 5 finishes. He finished 4th. And at one point, he's so good at saving fuel. He hadn't pitted when a caution came out, and he put a lap on the entire field. And because they get the wave around, they had to legit he pitted, come back out, and they had to wave the whole field past him. He'd put a lap. Do you imagine if they didn't have the wave around?
Oh my God.
So I think shout out to Dixon because somehow he is constantly a contender in IndyCar. You just can't count that guy out.
He's another Will Power, isn't he? Like he's just every time turns up.
Yep. So that was pretty cool to see.
F1 Canada. I think we've touched on INDYCAR.
I think so, yeah.
What did you think of the race?
F1 Canada. Well, qualifying is usually where now I'm going to sound like I'm shit canning my favourite sport. F1 is normally qualifying for me is always the highlight because that's where you see the cars turn their wick up.
Yep.
And I think Lando has to be, he's kind of the low light of both qualifying and the race. I mean, qualified 7th and out-qualified by an Aston Martin with Alonso. And his fastest qualifying time was in Q2. So Q1 and Q2, he was quicker than Oscar. But Q3, again, when the pressure turns up, he crumbles and he qualified 7th. Just made a mistake in his first run. Second lap was down and never improved.
I did see, and obviously maybe the McLarens weren't the strongest package this weekend, arguably, but Oscar was still in 3rd and he still qualified in the top 4 in every GP this year. So, as you say, for him to be 7th, it's a fair jump.
Yeah, it is. I feel like, it's harsh, but he's just making too many mistakes and he's clearly so fast. And I still strongly believe on his day.
He was 5/10 off Oscar in Q3.
Yeah, he made a mistake though. Well, yeah.
Still 5/10 off.
5/10 off. It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
It's wild. But then when you look at qualifying 1 and 2, to be faster than Oscar in both, and this is where, like, in any championship, and Jamie Whincup was great at it. On some days, if the car's got 4th, you get 4th.
Yeah.
But when a win's on the line, you make sure you get that. It's like I feel like sometimes he's trying to get something out of the car that's not there. And I think on this day, George Russell did an amazing job. He was fastest, right? Max even did a really good job. So rather than going for, like he said, we probably had a top 3 car. I don't think we had a pole car. I feel like he drives like he should be going for pole every time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, and I'm sure Oscar's really great at this because he seems so clinical. If he believes I've probably got a 3rd place car, I'm going to drive a lap that is the most perfect lap without overdriving, and I should be 3rd. Whereas when you're in your head thinking, fuck, it's a 3rd place car, but I'm going to try and rag this to 1st, you run the gauntlet of being 7th, which is what's happened.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. And I like George's little comms after it when his engineer said, good job, he goes, yeah, it wasn't shit.
Yeah. George did an amazing job, even in the race. I think it was really cool. And I liked that under the safety car as well late in the race, jumped on the brakes and drove. They're always fucking with each other in F1. That's the one thing I do like. It's one of those sports that I think because there's a real challenge to overtake, they've got to find all these little advantages and mind games and things. And under safety car, he's seen Max go to the right with a slight overlap, so he's checked up really quickly and made sure he overtook him and then got on the radio straight away and said, Max overtook me under safety car. It's like, mate, you proper jumped on the brakes, checked up. Red Bull even put in a protest after the race to say, hang on, this was not right. It got dismissed. But that's the type of shit all the drivers in F1 seem to do, that they know the rule book inside and out. They're like I don't know. I mean, George got his drive by presenting a fucking PowerPoint presentation on all the reasons why he would make a good Formula One driver to Toto Wolff. Like, they are super geeky, and I think they know every loophole within the rules, and they play the game. But that's sort of what you look for in F1 for excitement. But I did think that was interesting. And Max was kind of like, well, George, tried to fuck me there and didn't. But it was, qualifying was the big standout for me with Lando. The rest was kind of as expected. The sad thing is, again, Liam Lawson was last in qualifying. He complained that he needed 2 laps to get the tyre up, and in the last run, they only allowed enough time for the last run in Q1, time for 1 lap. Yep. Couldn't get the tyre up, and he qualified, last.
19th,
Obviously, what's his name? Yuki Tsunoda didn't make the top 10, but he then got a 10-place grid penalty. I didn't see the incident with Oscar, but he did get a 10-place grid penalty, so he started down the back. But Liam's under real threat. I saw that they got a super license approved for Arvid Lindblad, which I'm sure they've done that because, I mean, Max is down to 1 point. So his current race program is flexible, I would say, because I can't see, I mean, he's only going to make one mistake. I think it's as much as crossing a pit entry line or a pit exit line could be 1 point. You lose. So he's getting a race ban if that happens. And I'm sure that the Arvid Lindblad is not for a mid-season change or a late season change now with any of their drivers, but more a precaution in case Max gets that penalty. But if I'm Liam Lawson, it's hard to perform every week when you got to be realistic and know you're probably on the chopping block. You're not performing, and Hadjar keeps making Q3, and he's doing a good job.
It's harsh. It sounds harsh, but you're right. Like it's now or never, isn't it? Really. But that's F1. It sounds harsh, but it's cutthroat. I mean, all motorsport is cutthroat, let alone the pinnacle where there's only 20 seats available.
Yeah.
And so people aren't going to waste time.
Yep.
Like they will give you, like we saw with Jack doing. He got bugger all time, and then they're like, "Oh, we're making a change."
Yeah, and I think they're really in the search desperately for the next Max Verstappen because there's no guarantee. I think if Max, that one real boss move, I reckon right now would be if he finished because I think he's got a contract till 27. But obviously, if he falls outside top 3, I think he can exit that, but which is unlikely. But I think he'd be pretty boss if he just finished his contract, so that next year he gets to see who has the most competitive package in Formula One and then says, I want that car. And I reckon we're going to see, I think this is why George Russell's contract's probably taking longer than it should to be renewed. I reckon teams are trying to do short-term contracts with drivers so that they have an available seat for Max to jump into if they do well. And from what I've heard, these Mercedes look like they're going to be the strongest package next year. So George will be going, hang on a minute, I'm leading this team. I want a long-term contract. But I feel like everyone's going to want to be able to get their hands on Max if he becomes available.
Yeah, and Mercedes are in a funny position too because they've got Kimi Antonelli, who's obviously so young. They'll probably keep him in the second car, let's just call it, because he's got so much longevity on his side still. And he could be the next Max in himself if things go well. So, unfortunately for George, even though he's doing a great job, that's the one they're going to hedge their bets on if they're trying to make that play.
Yeah, which I don't think makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I do think it's great that Kimi's got the opportunity. George is doing such a good job. That guy should not be under threat. I think you'd almost have to go, well, if Max became available, you'd want George and Max. Kimi is really good, obviously, but it's just timing. It's just going, well, hang on. Like, if Max becomes available, I just think it's mad if the lead driver, the guy who just poled and won the Grand Prix and has podiumed so many times this year, is on the chopping block when a rookie, it's like he might be great, but you're still a rookie. You know, you got to be grateful that you're in that position as early as you are. Maybe it's timing.
Yeah. And someone's put in our comments here, mate, who we got. Flynn Johnson was put purposely get P4 and leave to go to Aston Martin. If I was Max, he obviously thinks completely different to how I do, but if I was in that position, I would want to go to Aston Martin. You know, because Newey's there.
Yeah, but it depends because they would know now. I think it's likely he'll go to Aston. I think you're right.
Do you think? Yeah.
I do, yeah. I agree with you. Like, I think he will, but they would already know, like, who's going to be strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Internally, they will.
So he's only going to, he'll just, I imagine, would pick the best car. Like, I know that you'd want to go with Newey and stuff, but
me going, sorry, not car related, but just if I wanted to, Max has done a lot of stuff, right? And let's just say if I was just going to take a gamble, which he's not going to gamble anything. As you say, he'll know it.
Which
where to
car's
go.
fast and just go there. But I do agree. I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right on Aston. I think there's a likelihood he could end up there.
It would just be really cool to go to a team like that and then turn them into a championship team.
Pretty cool. It'd be like
and it's a cool company car too. Like rolling up in an Aston's pretty cool.
well, he did buy one of those. Is it Valkyrie or whatever they're called?
Oh yeah,
He's got one of those.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I'm sure he can afford to buy whatever car he wants. I'm sure he's
he can, but
he's like
it's always nice if someone else pays for it, right?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think you're right. It'd be cool, and maybe that's why Stroll's got the shits. Maybe Stroll has got the shits because he is out because he seems off it at the moment.
Will Fernando want to be Max's teammate though? Will they keep Stroll and Fernando goes, you know what, I've had a good time, I'm out?
I don't think so. I think Alonso's the type of guy, if he's presented with or if there's a sniff of a competitive car again,
He'll hang around.
He'll hang around.
And he's the sort of dude, I reckon he'll be like, I can take it to him. Like he will think that, whether he can or can't, whatever.
If the car's not going to be competitive, he'll be like, I'm out. See you, mate. I'll go do Le Mans again like he did with McLaren that year. He's like, see you guys, I'm done.
Yeah.
But if they are looking like they're going to have a good car, he would be like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'll go again. And he's doing a fucking good job.
He's
60
still
qualified.
I've got no doubt that he's still got plenty of fire in the belly.
100%. And even in Formula One, well, Formula One more so, but the car is so important, right? If you got a fast car, you'll be there or thereabouts. But even in supercars and things, I don't think age is that important. Like, look at James Courtney. Like, he got that. Got lucky with that safety car, but once put in the position, he was just as fast as anyone else. And maybe you lose a little bit on your one lap speed, but you're still going to lose more than that in a bad car setup.
Of course, yeah.
You're not going to lose 0.2 of a second as a driver, but you could easily lose 0.2 of a second by being out in tyre pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's something as small as tyre pressure in a supercar puts you out more so than being 39 years old or 41. Is my opinion.
Yeah, no.
And I think Alonso's kind of like that. You give him a good car, I still think he'll be there. Like, look at when Aston was competitive and he was getting podiums at the start of 23, I think it was. And he's probably, I reckon he would hope, he'd be wanting Max to come, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think having a competitive teammate is so important for development.
Yeah, I agree with building, developing a car for sure, especially with the new regs next year. Then obviously that's going to be important.
Yeah. And I don't think he'd be afraid of him.
No, I don't.
In terms of tarnishing what he's achieved, I don't think that's...
He's got really nothing to lose, I guess. So, yeah, you're probably right in that aspect. But, we see it in Formula One. Sometimes people don't want to be labelled as the number two. I'm sure that's why Dan bounced around for a bit. And then in the end, that was probably to his detriment. He would have won a lot more races and had a lot more podiums if he just stayed there.
He should have stayed at Red Bull. I think everyone, 100%.
But I think it was trying to avoid that label of I'm the number two. And so that's what I think. Whether that's reality, that's just how I think it. Yeah, and you see it in Formula One.
And I think as well for Dan, the harsh reality is the gap between him and Max was becoming quite a lot. Even at the beginning, and Max, I think it was only second season when they're teammates or something. So I think Daniel saw the writing on the wall that Max is fast, and he thought the way to win was get out of here and be in a competitive car elsewhere. Because beating him in the same equipment, I think, was unlikely.
Yeah, hoping that he goes somewhere else where the car's better. Yeah. That's the advantage.
Yeah, for sure. The other one, so just Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
Third in the race, which is very cool. He's the third youngest driver to get a podium. I think Stroll might be the youngest, then Max.
He'll be popular at school on Monday.
Oh, could you imagine?
I'm joking.
Could you imagine being that kid? Like, just wild. Going back to school.
I actually saw a photo
I still think that's crazy.
Saw a photo of him going to school, or it must have been the end of school or whatever, but he was driving his
parked out the front.
His AMG, and he's like rocked up and you just feel so cool.
And the difference between being a rich kid that can afford a GTS or whatever is very different to being a Formula One driver that's given one because you're the best driver in the world.
It's not mum or dad's car. It's like, no, this is my company car.
Yeah, this is my company car. It's fucking nuts. And then, I think with the popularity of Formula One now, it must be surreal to go back to school.
Mate.
At his age. Definitely.
But that was really, really cool to see him on the podium.
Yeah, very good. And he drove very smart. Like his opening lap, the turn 1-2 between him and Oscar was really good, I thought, because that was a very easy one to... I mean, both drivers ran side by side through 1 and 2 and gave each other plenty of space, and actually Oscar ended up conceding into turn 3. But I thought that was pretty mature from both of them, and obviously you're going to say more so for Kimi because he's so young and so fresh. And turn 1-2 there is a pretty tricky...
And...
section of the track.
And on that too, smart by Oscar, and they said it in the commentary as well, but he's leading the championship. So there was no point in him banging wheels and DNFing.
Yep.
So to your point earlier about if he's got a fourth car, he takes a fourth.
Yeah.
I think that moment was a prime example of that where he's going, okay, this kid's young and doesn't give a shit. He's kind of got track position. I'm going to have to concede and just roll back in and live to fight another day. So it was smart on his point. Unlike, I guess, Lando with his misjudgment, where he just drove into the back of him with the wing and then he's got a DNF now. So then Oscar gets all those points on him.
I know. It's nuts. And I think that in that incident, you could see that Oscar's not driving the corner he's in, but the next one, he's so far ahead. Like even when he outbraked him into the last corner,
that was good.
but immediately knew, okay, we'll position the car to the left, which doesn't sound like much, but I think to be calm enough that he never blocked and he never made a movement that looked like a block. He didn't react to Lando. He was already ahead going, okay, I'm going to
forced him into
merge to the left and put him in a position that he's in trouble. And I think that Lando really, like that was one of the worst mistakes that you could make, to just drive straight into the back of him. And he had that much closing speed at the end. He nearly could have gone to the right. Had the overlap and stayed around the outside of one and passed him into two because it did look like, and I'm sure Oscar would have escorted him off the road and it might have been different, but it was such a bad mistake. And it's literally like Oscar, you look at him and you go, that's world championship material. There's nothing in there. His block wasn't even an obvious block. He's so far ahead on the mentally, I think, than Lando at the moment. Obviously, we're biased, Aussies, but you can't argue, I don't think, at the moment because you see qualifying and in the race. And I don't know. I'm sure Lando, if in the right car for long enough, will win a championship, and he may do it this year. But what you see right now is not world championship material, because usually by the time someone gets to the point in their career where they're challenging for a world championship, they've made all these mistakes before and they're now really well-rounded.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're not making silly mistakes. Like just driving straight in the back of him.
Yeah, it was a complete misjudgment.
Terrible.
And as you said, but like, where was he going to go? There was no room to the left. He was clearly in front of him because he ran into him. Like, he should have just, if you wanted to try and just put your nose to the right and try and force him into a mistake or something. Like, have some of that.
Yeah.
There was none of that racecraft, I guess you call it, where you're like, right, I'm going to, he might be quicker. He's got
never set him up.
I'm going to force him into a mistake here. You know, by
he's not thinking about.
He's not.
Whereas immediately Oscar's like, all right, I'm on the right. I'll merge to the left so that it positions him over to there. And then if I want, I can come back to the right for the kink.
Yeah.
I think he's thinking that far ahead. That's what I was thinking today. It's hard to ever say someone's not world championship material because they could likely win one. But right now, the little mistakes like that, well, not little mistakes. I mean, just drove straight to the back of him.
Well, that's cost him how many points?
Well, I've got it here, actually. So Oscar scored 12 points. It cost him 10 points.
Well, there you go. Which is huge in Formula One.
Massive.
Like when they're in the same gear.
Yeah, it's 25 for a win.
Yeah, but because they're in the same cars too, it's likely that they will finish, if things go well, within a place of each other. So the amount of times you have to do that to then get that back.
Exactly. Now, one thing that's interesting is McLaren aren't as dominant as they were. Max is clearly still there.
Yeah.
It only takes a couple of mistakes for those two guys, and we've talked about, you know, whether they should be bringing in team orders or letting them race and things like that. It doesn't take much for them to crash into each other or make a couple of mistakes, and Max can be right in it because they are not where they were at the start of the season. I think it's actually quite a competitive championship now.
Well, yeah, and now having the Mercs look like they've found some speed, if you throw 5 or 6 cars in that podium contention each weekend, you're going to have things go wrong.
They're taking points away from you.
Well, they're taking points, but you're throwing another cat among the pigeons. So the likelihood of wheel-to-wheel contact or some damage is higher as well. The risk elevates. So I think, to your point, from our point of view as viewers, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, the gap between Max Verstappen, just quickly, is less. So Max Verstappen to Lando Norris is actually less now than it is from Lando to Oscar.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's 20. So Max Verstappen's on 155 and Lando's on 176.
Yep.
So 21 points.
Oh, 21.
And then let me do the math. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I don't want to say that because I'm terrible at maths. I don't want to actually make that claim that I should do the maths. But then the gap between Lando and Oscar is 176 to Oscar on 198.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is not like, it doesn't take much to be. Max gets another P2 like on the weekend, finishing second in that race on the weekend. I mean, we didn't actually cover off the race results, but he did finish second. He scored 18 points. So he just clawed back 18 straight away on Lando.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much, dude. It takes one little incident and he's back into P2 in the championship. And this should be a 1-2 for McLaren, you would think, quite comfortably. But this is where McLaren will need to start to consider their drivers and the way they let them engage. But just quickly, we will wrap off the top 5, say.
Yep.
George Russell first, Max Verstappen second, Kimi Antonelli third, Oscar Piastri fourth, Charles Leclerc fifth. Now, Lewis was ahead, but actually hit a groundhog, I think it's called. Hit a groundhog. And I heard him say on the coverage he lost 20 points of downforce. And I was like, fuck does that mean? And then later I found an interview that said it's about half a second per lap. So he lost a fair bit of time and he really had nothing going on. Like he had no speed in the race. So that was a shame. And it was because it was quite early when he had the damage. But he did out-qualify Charles again. Charles straight away said he felt like he should have been on pole, but I'm not a big fan of drivers when we just constantly say...
We always feel like that, don't we?
I've had someone once I used to call 3/10 because every time you spoke to him, it was like, oh, it could have been 3/10 faster, but this happened and that happened and this happened. So you didn't do it. So I feel like everyone had a car for pole if they did better. Yeah. The other, I guess, 1 point before we move on is the Constructors' Championship. McLaren obviously leading, but Mercedes has overtaken Ferrari for second.
Really?
And obviously Red Bull's not even in contention because they've only got one guy scoring points.
Yes.
Which is, fuck knows what they do from here.
Copy.
I don't know what they do.
Hey, you're not wrong. Le Mans, lemons.
Yeah, lemons.
24 hour of lemons. Well, how do you pronounce it? Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Oh,
I don't know.
Very good.
Le Mans. What do you think of the race, mate? It's 24 hours. How much?
I didn't watch it.
You watched the whole 24
hours, mate.
I jumped in and out of bits of it. I do. I mean, I'll be honest. Like the endurance racing, I do struggle, and yeah, I think seeing a lot of the. I'm not a big fan of the AM racing and stuff, and but
I think the hypercar with the pros is really cool. Some of the other class stuff. I mean, it would be amazing to do. Do not get me wrong. Love to do it, but yeah, some of it's pro am racing. So you see wild differences, like a lot of silly crashes and things going on. There was plenty of that in the support cage too. Did you see the guy kung fu fighting in the Ferrari challenge car? No, that was pretty funny. You didn't see that on social media?
No.
He went up to the...
the fight.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I did.
Crazy, and bit of a shame for Matty Campbell in the Penske Porsche because they qualified really well, but they got sent to the back, as you touched on. So it would have been awesome to see... Probably wouldn't make much of a difference where you start really in those long races. But
and there's not that many cars, but he did do, I think he started 21st in the end. Yeah. But yeah, I guess over the 24 they claw their way in and a lot of stuff happens. Like the amount of 3 wheels come off during the race. Like stuff happened in that race that you wouldn't expect at that level. But yeah, I think that the Porsche, I mean, it would have been cool to see Matty Campbell win. I mean, how good would that be to see him win? And I'm sure he will because there's no guarantees, but he's so talented. To think it wasn't that long ago he's racing Porsche Cup Series out here. Now he's Carrera Cup and now he's full factory. He's unbelievable. He's one of the best drivers in the world.
Ferrari?
Yeah. Ferrari, they three-peat, man. And I think it was, from what I read, it was the car that was least likely to win. It was not the favourite of
the customer car, wasn't it?
Customer. Privateer car won the race. So that was really cool to see. And for me, I've always been a massive fan of Robert Kubica.
Yeah, huge fan.
Talking Canada, that was the race where he had that massive crash in the Sauber, I think it was back in the day.
Right.
Where he tore the front off. He hit the wall, third last corner, whatever it was, fourth last corner. And do you remember seeing that? His feet hanging out the cockpit?
I remember seeing a photo, I think, of the car.
Yeah. And then the comeback after the rally accident where the Armco rail come through and take half of his arm off. Like, it's just, he's a seriously impressive dude.
Oh, even today, watching him go up on the podium and his hand that he damaged, which I think is his right hand in that, it's like how he still does what he does with that.
Dude, he did a season in Formula One with that not that long ago.
He's unbelievable. And as you say, everyone that's ever raced against him, they just rate him so highly.
Lewis said he's the fastest he's ever raced.
Yeah.
So he can clearly steer a race car. And I think the story's amazing to just come back from what he's been through and win it is great. And to do it, I think he's the first Polish driver to win and the first Chinese driver to win with his teammate, which was Yi Fei, and Phil Hansen was his other teammate. Do you know how to say that properly?
No, I don't.
I don't want to get that wrong. But first Chinese driver and first Polish driver to win the race.
Yes.
And all 3 of them are first-time winners in a privateer Ferrari, which is just unbelievable. I mean, it's really cool. I think the other Ferrari, all day they were battling. It looked like a 1-2 was most likely. They were favourites going. I even put in our Patreon that I did a post and they were tipped to be favourites. So there was no surprise, I think, when they were battling and it was likely to be a 1-2, but they had issues late in the race. And I think even the customer car had to give the lead up to the number 53 and never received that favour back. But yeah, the 53 ran into issues, spun entering the pit lane. You probably saw that on socials. That was pretty bad. Lost a shitload of time there. And then the number 50 after the last stop went down escape road, lost a heap of time, then lost power at the end of the race. So it was a fairy tale for this privateer, as much as you can be a privateer at that level. Come through and win the race was pretty cool. And obviously Matty Campbell came second with the Porsche Penske car. And yeah, the DQ, it's just, they're having a run of horror at the moment.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. I was like, holy shit, like Penske just having a terrible time with the tech shed. But
and that's not one that's that difficult to fuck up. We saw Ferrari have had cars, I mean, they had 2 in one weekend wiped out for being underweight, so in Formula One. So it's not like, I think coming in underweight, they're always
looking for the last gram.
Yeah. So that's, but when you put them all together, it seems like it's been a, it doesn't look good.
As you said, it's just a shit run for them. They'll bounce back. But I will touch on, because it's coming through in our questions here from our patrons. So we did have a number of Aussies over there in the support category with the Ford Mustang Dark Horse Challenge, I think they called it. So we had Cameron McLeod was over there. He actually won, which was congrats to Cam. That's pretty cool against all the Ford junior drivers. So good that a young Aussie from Australia went and towed up all the Ford juniors for Ford Motorsports. So that was really cool. We had Andrew Medicki was over there. David Wall was over there. Tim Miles was in the race.
Quinny was there. Got to give Quinny a shout out. He's my boss.
Yeah, Quinny was there. And also Keith Kasuki. And I know Keith really well. Keith helped me out back in my Super 2 days as well. So, awesome that they got to go and do that. Fraser Ross was there in an LMP2.
I saw that, yeah.
And Yasser Shahin was in
he didn't finish the race, I don't think.
They retired in their thing. So there was actually, I'm sure there's probably other Aussies over there too. Apologies if we've missed anyone, but there was a lot of Aussies over there. But the Mustang race looked like a bit of fun.
It did. I hope David Wall is okay. I haven't spoken to him since, but I did see that he had quite a serious accident. And,
looked like a big one.
I think he was taken to hospital after the fact.
Okay, so, well, yeah.
But I think he's okay, but it was a massive crash, so hopefully Dave's all right.
Yeah, and then Andrew unfortunately got taken out as well. Someone had a crash and sort of bounced into him in the second race. That was unlucky for Andy. But, yeah, that was pretty cool. So, yeah, well done Cam McLeod on winning it and representing Australia well. It's good.
If you do have any thoughts on all of the events we've recapped, pop them in the comments below. If you have something we've missed or shout out, don't give them an honourable mention in the comments, and we'll jump in there and reply as well. Because obviously, I'm sure there is something we've missed, or someone that maybe is your favourite driver we haven't given a mention to that we didn't realise. Because sometimes we don't ignore someone; you just miss the result. But it's been a massive 24 hours of watching motorsport content to try and bring as much of this as we can to you guys. So we do want to hear from you after this as well.
Should we tuck into the pre-brief for Darwin?
Mate, how good. It's only been a week since the Supercars were last on track. So I am stoked that we've got some racing on. We've obviously touched on the fact you're going back racing, so you must be very excited. Yes. But I am very happy that Supercars have had a very short turnaround, 1 weekend off, and they're back in Darwin. I actually got some videos come through today. The Triple Eight guys are in Darwin already, obviously.
Oh, cool.
Setting up the garages, and there's been snakes in the pit lane.
Great.
So they put snakes in wheelie bins. So I'm glad I'm not over there at the moment because I have never seen a snake in the pit lane, and they're fucking massive. So if you go on the Red Bull Instagram, they've posted that.
Did they? I'll have to have a look.
Huge. I am not a snake person, I can tell you. I'll give you the hot tip. And
I'd be more worried about a crocodile up there, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to get a crocodile at the race.
Well, how do you know?
Oh, true. I mean, they do migrate. But anyway, practice, of course, they got more of that. Friday, 2 practice sessions, 30 minutes each. And then roll into Saturday, qualifying. 2-part qualifying format, 9 a.m. And then they've got another qualifying after that as well, because on Saturday, unlike last year, there's 2 races this weekend, both 42 lappers. So they've got, the 2-part qualifying sessions at 9:05 and 9:55 on Saturday before they roll into the first of the 42 lappers, race 17 and race 18.
Yep.
What tyres are they on? I forgot this last time, so you've got that over there, Buzz. What are they on this weekend? What's the deal?
So for race 17, they're on the soft, which is the first 120k lapper race. Mm-hmm. That race, they'll also have, there's no fuel, there's 1 stop. So you have to do 1 CPS in the 120k races as a minimum. and they have to take at least 2 tyres as a minimum as well.
Right, which is likely. I saw last year doing our research because we do heaps of it. 2 tyres was very common. Not many did do 4, and it looked like rear tyres was the go.
Drive for that big kilometre-long straight, mate.
Yeah, which, you do spend a lot of the lap turning, but obviously the tyre wear there is similar to Perth. I think it was like 0.03 was the hot tip we were given. 0.03 is in less than a tenth of a second, less than half a tenth of a second per lap is the tyre deg.
Not really a thing.
So it's not really a thing, but there is still, an undercut there. So there's still deg, but it does look like the rear tyres are the way to go because front tyre deg isn't too bad.
Yeah, and again, like they did in Perth, the second race, so race 18 on the Saturday, same distance, same pit stops, same everything, but they're going to run the super soft.
Cool.
And then they'll bounce back on the Sunday. So the Sunday, the qualifying format goes to the Format 3 with the top 10 shootout. And then they're going to go back to the soft tyre, but it is a 200K race. So there's minimum 2 CPS stops. So you've got to come into the pit lane twice.
Yep.
Same deal. Minimum of 2 tyres, but they'll have to come into the lane twice. So 200K.
It'll be interesting to see what they do on Sunday for the 2 tyre stop. Like for the 2 CPS. Interesting. Are you saying on Sunday they've got?
Yeah. So in the 200K race on Sunday, they got to come in twice.
Yeah, whether they do 4 tyres in both or 2 tyres in one, 4 tyres in the other. But the trend is, we've been given the hot tip, that 2 tyres is typically the go for the soft tyre races and 4 in the super soft.
And they're back to the soft for the long race. So
so we may only see.
You'd imagine it's probably going to be whatever they do in race 17, they'll just do that twice, you would imagine.
Well, maybe, because you might want to change the fronts. You're not going to do the whole race in the fronts, are you?
Well,
So you're not going to just do rears twice.
Oh, but I'm saying, I'm saying 2 tyres, though. They're not going to change it up, you wouldn't think, unless...
No, I think you'll do a 2 and a 4, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know.
Because you're not going to have one set of tyres do a double stint. Like, because if you do the rears, then what are you going to do? Just fronts next one?
Well, I don't know.
You're not going to just...
I'm not an engineer.
You're not going to do double stint in the rears. No, I think you have to do a 2 and a 4, surely.
Well,
And I think it'll depend on field spread. I think a lot of the guys, this is me just guessing, but the first stop, I reckon you see quite a few do a 2 tyre stop in the first, just for track position, and then hope there's field spread and they do a 4 tyre late. But I could be way off. You might be spot on. But I can't see them double stinting at some point you'd have to double stint a rear tyre.
I'm just trying to work out in my head how many laps 200K is, but I'm not that good with maths. It's 3 point something K.
78, is it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
I've got it here, mate. It's in the notes.
Oh, okay.
Just look at the fucking notes, Elliot. 70 laps.
Bob Barber.
It's 70 at 3:10 p.m. to be specific. Race 19.
See, this is why you're on the show, mate.
You're on the wrong page. Just scroll.
I am
up.
on the wrong page. That's why. There we go.
Holy. But anyway, points from last year. Golding was on pole, so he's clearly got speed. We were supportive, I would say, of Golding last week because, some are critical of the mistakes he made, but you're not always guaranteed to have a fast car, and sometimes you get desperate when you do get a good one. But we may see Premier bounce back with a quick car. And I think that I would say they will. I think usually we have predicted some results, made us look great, but I think it's somewhat predictable. Usually the cars that were quick last year tend to be quick the following year because not a lot does change. I know parity's always talked about, and there are changes that have been made, which hopefully this weekend we see Ford's more competitive, because last year I'd put in there it was really a Chev Cup. I think in both qualifying sessions, only 2 Fords made the top 10. So, hopefully we see that change, but typically a GM that was quick is going to be quick again. And Brock, mate, 2 from 2 last year. They got rid of the Triple Crown, but he was far out fast last year. So he's coming off the back as well of 2 events where he's been lights out quick. So I think it's likely to see that happen again. Frosty was P3 last year. How wild is that? 12 months on, he's probably going to be commentating there.
Oh, is he back in the Broad? Do we know?
I don't know, but I'm saying, isn't it wild to think
podium
the guys on a podium last year? That's like penthouse to shithouse.
Well, okay,
but it's it's just funny, isn't it? Because clearly the guy's quick still, and they put him in a commentary box. It's tough. Darwin, he's on the podium, and then 12 months later he's in the commentary box. Is hard. And
that's one of those tracks, as you said, teams generally do well at the same place. Team 18, you've been on the podium there in those cars. Frosty was on the podium in those cars. Be interesting to see what happens to Anton and Dave this weekend. Yep. Like, as you say, it is generally a trend.
Yeah, for sure. See. Chaz last year was nowhere. He did have the 22nd to 5th in one of the races, but qualified down the back. Woody ran down the back. So I'm intrigued to see what Walkinshaw will do. I think that's a big question.
I reckon we're going to see, before we speculate on who's going to go well and who's not, I think we're going to see more physical racing. Like Perth was still good racing, but it was probably a little bit less than what we had seen for the start of the year. And if you think back to it, mate, this is where 12 months ago we were talking about the wheels, where we first started talking about interlocking in the wheels. And we saw Cooper and Andre get stuck into each other and by interlocking wheels, and then they tore open that car and things like that. So I think Darwin is a good track for passing. I think there's a couple of opportunities where you can get passes done. And it's one where we see generally aggressive racing, especially up into things like the hairpin. Guys can get in the rear bar, try and unsettle people, things like that. So I'm looking forward to watching the supercar racing up there because I think they'll be belters again.
Yeah, I agree. And you do see a little bit of a tyre offset. And I do think it's great that there's the minimum 2, but on the Sunday especially, we could see 4-tyre, 2-tyre, and that's where I think we saw some cars come through last year by taking a 4-tyre stop. Yep. Cam Waters was one of those guys. He got real aggressive. He used the front of his car and escorted Anton wide at the last corner, if you remember that.
That's right, yep.
So I do think, you're right. I reckon we're going to see some good racing. Darwin's one of my favourite tracks, one of my favourite places. So I'm keen to go back there. And it's cool that we've got 3 races there as well. I think they're good distances. I think the 48 lapper last year was good, but it's 42 this year, I think it is. So it's a little bit shorter, but still, very good. I think the 2-tyre and 4-tyre is going to be interesting. I think, even whenever I was there, we'd never really decide until the race because it depends on field spread. You know, if you feel like you're out of position like Chaz, I do think they will struggle in qualifying, but then that's exciting for us. I think on the couch, we'll see those guys do something left of field and hopefully come through.
We'll be back to an extra car on the grid too because Rylan Gray's jumping into the Tickford wildcard that Lockie Dalton drove in Perth. Rylan's stepping up. So that'll be interesting to see how Rylan goes. Really rate Rylan. And we saw this is where last year Coop Murray qualified 5th in a wild card with Triple Eight.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, when I looked at that today, I think he must have used his tyres because he qualified 10th after the shootout, but he was 5th and he out-qualified Brock Feeney, I believe, in the Brock qualified pole for the shootout.
Yeah.
But
no, I think you're right. He did use all his tyres to get up.
Yeah.
So that'll be good to see how Rylan goes. It's a good track for the. It just seems to be one of those tracks when wild cards go there. Like I think Jaden O'Jada might have done his wild card there a few years ago.
Actually, right.
Walkinshaw. Cooper's done his. Rylan's doing his there. I guess it's a track that most guys will only race there once a year. It's not like you can go there in other categories. There's not a lot of racing up at Hidden Valley in national level motorsport. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that helps them. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how Rylan goes. So good luck, buddy. Fingers crossed for you. I'll be up there cheering you on.
Will you? Or will you be focusing on yourself?
Well, by then on Sunday, I'll be done. So I'll probably be standing on the fence with a can, watching everyone doing a couple of sound checks.
Can I have a sound check before we press on there, mate?
Flavour?
Doesn't matter. Whatever flavour.
Beer it is.
No, definitely not that flavour. There's VB right at the back. I've hidden them even from you. I want to look after you. Don't need VB.
Thanks,
mate. Now, one thing... So I picked Shell as my Smokies as top Ford team because, I mean, they were quite competitive. I think they're hard. Like I saw Brody last week. We speak to Tom a lot. They are critical on themselves. Like I know Tom doesn't feel like they've been as competitive as he would like, but they did. Like, I mean, Brody qualified 3rd at Perth.
Yeah.
And still was in the 10 and quite competitive. And I feel like they're going back to a track that other Ford teams weren't that good at last year. I know in 2023, Cam Waters had a pole. But last year, it really looked like DJR was probably, especially with Anton, was probably the quickest.
Yeah.
So in the top 10 last year, I think Ford, they were the only 2 Fords that featured in the shootout.
Yeah, that's correct.
Except for, on Saturday, Cam Waters was 8th.
Yep.
But on Saturday last year, Anton was 5th in the shootout. And then on Sunday, they were the only 2 Fords in the top 10 shootout with Will Davison in 7th and Anton in 9th. Now, Brody actually on Sunday finished up 3rd. So, you know, we know how good Brody is. If he has a good car, he can be at the front. So you take the guy out of, you know, the Chev that finished 3rd on Sunday last week and you put him in a car that's still qualified in the 10. If they have fixed the parity stuff, which we believe they have. So one of the big problems was they tested the engine and did the parity based on a cooler ambient temperature, which meant that the whole testing and parity was done incorrectly.
Yeah.
I think that's been resolved. So hopefully when they go to Darwin with the hot ambient, the Ford is more competitive than last year.
Yep.
And given they were strong, it's no far stretch to think that they might be the top Ford team next weekend. With Davo and Brody, I would say, making all three top 10s. So I'm hoping they get a podium.
Yep.
I think it would be good to see. I think they need it right now.
Oh, there's no doubt that team needs a boost.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about in the last podcast with DJR, with the current Gen 3 program, they don't need more time,
Yeah.
You come in and you plug in what you think was going to work and it either works or it doesn't. So time is, if it was the old car, you would say, oh, we'll see it come to fruition, around 10.
They're not making parts.
They're not making parts. They've done everything, all their ideas they've done.
Yeah.
They've spent all their ideas. So what's next?
And that's why that's why we said,
Sound check.
oh, that was lovely. That's why we said we thought early they were going to be on, because they're not building parts. They're not doing anything different. They buy a new part, they bolt it on the car, they then put whatever setup they want in the car.
Yeah.
So to your point, within a test day, you should have got through a fair bit of your program and worked out what direction is.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to reinvent the wheel. So
There's nothing you can do now that you didn't already know before.
So I think it's been a surprise that they haven't come on quicker. And in saying that, in New Zealand, Brody qualified really well, was up the front. They were on, I think Davo have a podium in New Zealand, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, they got a 2 and 3.
Yeah, so, they have actually quite early in the season, just not consistently.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice that, hopefully they bounce back this weekend, because I think there's plenty of Ford fans that want to see DJR back in the hunt.
Yeah, definitely. Cassandra has thrown in our chat as well. Bryce Ford is my smoky for Darwin, and hopefully Red Bull nailing it. I think it would be great to see Bryce do well. He's a Darwin boy.
Of course.
So I think it would be good to see him do well. I mean, it was always something when I went home to race in your hometown, is always you feel up and about. And I did a charity chat with him once actually in Darwin as well, and I could definitely feel how much it meant to him racing at home. It's something like it's a pretty special feeling. So hopefully Bryce does do well, and he's been, to be fair, leading the last 2 events probably for him and Mac are at Tassie, but Bryce really led the way for BJR, I would say, at Perth.
Yeah, and last year on Saturday, Andre Heimgartner for BJR was in the 10.
Yeah.
So they have had some speed there in the past. So again, just going on trends.
Just Sunday, he collected Cooper Murray. That was him that rode up over the rear end of Cooper.
It was, that's right. That's when we started talking about the wheels. But anyway.
Cooper has watching the highlights from last year, he was taken out at turn 1. Wasn't his fault. He was hitting the rear and spun out. And then Sunday in the race as well, he obviously had Andre ride over the rear of his car. But, man, that guy gets caught up in some incidents. When you look back there and you think that's his first... I mean, he did that. I mean, it's hard. Like, you got to... I don't know. I feel kind of bad for him because he seems to always be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But there's got to be a point where you think, fuck, am I putting this thing in the wrong spot? Am I... Yeah, even looking at that turn 1 when he got turned last year... He did chase the car across to the inside. When someone's committed to passing you, and it's hard to describe, but you know what it's like. When you commit and you dive down the inside of someone, if they move at all, as soon as you adjust the wheel,
they're going in, yeah.
You're going to lock a front and then you're done. You're going to T-bone them. You can't adjust once you've committed. And I feel like I look back at that today and I thought, when you isolate that incident, yep, he got hit in the rear. But then when you lay everything out, you look back at it now, you go, fuck, he did chase him to the apex and he probably caused him to lock a front late and T-bone him. You're still...
Two to tango most of the time.
Exactly. And so hopefully I do want to see Cooper, because we're pretty complimentary of him in the last pod. Like, I don't want to see... You want to see him try and get a couple runs under his belt without getting caught up in some shit, because God knows he needs it right now. And, as a rookie season, to be 155 points off last place, it's tough going, especially when I think Kai Allen's doing a good job. Like, I think there's rookies in the field that are, Matty Payne won a race in his first season. Obviously, there's different circumstances with car performance. We're not saying that's, Brock Feeney won the Adelaide 500 in his first year, but he's in a Red Bull car. It's not comparable. But just stay out of trouble this weekend. I think you got to look back at what's happened and analyse it and go, okay, maybe there is some stuff I could do differently, and hopefully he does do that from now on.
I like it. Should we do our predictions?
Tassie, Thomas Wilson. Tassie was pretty bad this year. I don't reckon I've seen someone at this level grab both pedals ever and T-bone someone. That was pretty bad.
It's probably just a sign that he's maybe not that comfortable in that car. To like when you have those sort of things, those sort of mistakes happen. Because as you said, for a professional driver, that's not that common unless there's something going on either ergonomically in the car or you're not physically that comfortable in the car. Or So, yeah, I mean, strange one, but I don't know. Shit happens, right? Like
shit does happen.
It does, unfortunately.
I think it's a good point. All right, predictions. You can go first.
Cool.
Is that what we're up to?
Yeah,
I think so.
Predictions. I think we've covered off the format and what's going on. There's not a lot to talk about. Nothing's happened yet. My predictions are that I think Waters will bounce back for a win at some stage over the weekend. I think he'll turn around and be fast.
Yep.
Which probably doesn't sound that groundbreaking because it's Cam Waters, right? He's a weapon. But
I think it's a good. There's risk in it though because he wasn't that competitive last year because the Fords weren't. So
no, and we still don't know what's going to happen there with the Ford.
Well, yeah, and like I said, I picked DJR. You've picked Waters.
Yep.
So I don't think there is a given for any of the Fords at the moment.
My Smoky.
Did you say for a win?
A win at some stage.
Yeah, that's bold. I think.
Bold strategy cutting. My Smoky is
this one's bold.
Yeah, it's bold. And people thought I was bold with JC. What happened last week?
True.
Thank you very much
for coming. Sit back in my seat and shut up.
I think Premier will be fast there because like Golding had pole last year, things like that. They've had speed there in the past. But I think Richie to get a podium. I'm going out there.
Richie to get a podium. If he gets a podium, seriously, these guys need to text you and say thank you. Because JC getting a podium, holy shit, who saw that?
He didn't text me.
Yeah.
So I think Richie's going to be strong. I think in the 888 battle between teammates, I think Brock still, like I did at Perth. And the reason why I say that is when you watch he's just, and Will's amazing.
You called him a silkworm,
He's
Elliot.
a silkworm. On the wheel, he's very smooth and it's a bit of an in-joke with some of the boys. We used to call each other silkworms if someone did a good job.
Right.
And I think just watching him, he's a silkworm. So I think he's going to be up on the wheel. He's nice and smooth. I think he'll be fast, especially in those hot climate areas where you can fry a tyre.
Yep. It's a smooth surface.
I think his style is
thermal is an issue.
Is going to lend itself to the Darwin temperatures.
Yep.
What do you got?
I don't want to give Brock any credit because he was in my face after the last round when I said that Will was going to beat him, and he took way too much satisfaction in telling me that I was wrong there. But I think Brock, I mean, last year watching those races, the gap that he was able to put on the field, I think 8 seconds he won Saturday's race by, and Sunday he was real fast as well. So yeah, Brock's, God damn it, he's probably my favourite for the weekend. I really hope Will gets one up on him. So come on, Will. But I mean, Sunday those guys were 1 and 2, and I think 16 seconds ahead of third. So those two guys are on another planet for me at Darwin. So I see those guys being 1 and 2 potentially. Yep. WAU to forget is going to be my prediction.
Is that based off history trends?
History trends.
Yep.
I hope I'm wrong, but it's hard because we always pump drivers up and say how great they are. If they don't do well at the next track, does that mean they're not very good? Or did they only do well because the car's good? Like, that's a harsh one. But if Woody doesn't do well, right, at Darwin, does that mean it was only the car that was good at Perth, not Woody?
No. Well,
you know what I mean? Like, you got to be a good driver to drive a fast car. I get that. Yeah. But if the car sucks.
I think that shows how competitive the championship, because everyone's very good. So if the car is differentiated, in my opinion, because everyone is so good and everyone is very, very similar.
I say it because the drivers that struggle get so much criticism.
No, I agree with you.
It's easy to be a dick rider when someone's doing well, but everyone loves to criticize a driver that's 15th every week, but doesn't get do they get the opportunity to have a Walkinshaw car at Perth? You know what I mean? And that's why I bring it up. So it's not a dig to question how good Woody is. It's actually to say maybe there's some cars you cut some slack to, and that's why I put WAU to forget, because I could be wrong if the parity's better and stuff, but typically they struggle there. And Chaz, we know how good he is, but he can't drive a slow car to the front. Like,
no one can.
In qualifying, no one can. Reynolds or Anton for a podium, and I can't sit on the fence here. I think Anton. I'm going to say that Anton will get a podium and Reynolds will be behind. And I say that because today you said Reynolds.
Yeah. No, we'll have that.
We're hedging up. We're different on that one.
I'll say Reynolds then.
Yeah. So I think Anton for a podium and Chev Cup.
you still think Chev Cup?
I don't see them fixing whatever needs to be fixed to be fast in Darwin. I think it's going to be a Chev Cup. Could be way off there. We could have Waters on pole. I don't know. Mate, you might get the win with Waters and fucking.
Well, I think
I think it's going to be Chev Cup.
I think Perth and our Patreon members here that are writing saying that I'm jinxing everyone. I think Perth broke the curse. You actually texted me, said your curse is broken when JC got the podium. Because historically, if you've only just started listening to us, anyone I say, it's the opposite. It's opposite day all the time.
To the point where you bet on Denny Hamlin once and like 4 laps in his engine exploded.
Yeah. He was leading though, I think, wasn't he? But yeah, so hopefully I think my curse is broken from that point of view. So I think Flynn Johnson, don't worry, mate, the Tickford boys will be on.
There was one other thing. Cassandra has thrown in here that Will Brown will have his brain on Chicago already. I can tell you, after speaking to Will at Perth,
yeah,
he's putting things aside to focus on supercars. And I don't mean putting NASCAR aside, but his sole focus right now, I can't tell you, and this is where...
He stopped selling cars midweek, has he?
There's other he has he said that the car salesman stuff he can do with his eyes closed because he's been doing it for so long. But there's other things in his life that he's prioritizing supercars over because it's like that's his focus. His focus is to win another championship. So, yeah, I don't think anyone should ever question. I think he's doing the NASCAR stuff, which is a cool opportunity, and he'll just go and do that.
Yeah.
But that's like a box ticker. I think that's like, what an opportunity to get to do that.
Yeah.
But when your teammate's beating you and you're as competitive as either Will or Brock, and I know there's a lot of other guys in the lane, but obviously I see them firsthand, they would not be enjoying this, whichever way it is, either of those guys. And that's why I've been critical on other drivers too. Like we talk about other teams. And I think that they need to be more competitive. I think you don't need to be as matey with your teammates. It's great to work with them and drive the team forward, but letting your teammate be the number one and
don't
just
be
being
stoked when they beat you.
100%. Like you should be most unhappy when your teammate beats you. Not in a negative way, but that should hurt you the most because it's the only guy in the lane that has the same equipment.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, rule number one is if you're in the same car as someone, if they're faster, you should have the shits on. If you don't, you need to ask yourself why you're doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
That's it, bro.
Hey, great show, Scott.
What a wrap.
Well done.
Did that far. We got through that.
There was a lot to talk. There was a lot of racing on, which was great.
Of all of it, what was your favourite race?
I've got to say Mexico with Shane's, but again, just purely because nothing like seeing him.
You're a tin top lover too, though, aren't you? You love a body, and
look, I'm
all about open wheelers, and I've migrated to INDYCAR. You're always going to be a NASCAR.
Roof and fenders all day long. In saying that, I love seeing an INDYCAR on a street course, a road course. Yep. I think they're amazing to watch. I love all the motorsport, but obviously I'm more your stock car, supercar, touring car kind of guy.
Yeah, and I'm probably the opposite.
And that's why we make such a great team, Scott. But anytime you see a mate get up and SVG win, I think that's going to be my favourite.
Yep.
Yours?
INDYCAR. I just was blown away the amount of overtakes, wheel to wheel. I mean, there was one point where Pato Ward and someone else they were rubbing wheel to wheel with smoke coming off the guards for an entire corner of the oval, like 3-4. So INDYCAR did it for me this weekend. But yeah, it was cool. Lots of good racing. So Supercars back. I'm stoked. There's only been a couple weeks turnaround. It meant that we didn't actually have to do a real refresher of this podcast because it hasn't been a month and everyone's forgotten about them, I think. More of that, please.
Copy that. And we'll see you when we get back from Darwin, guys.